Jason Doresy, a new approach to generations. Jason is the #1 speaker on generations in the world. He has received over 1,000 standing ovations from audiences of 16 to 16,000. Jason is a best-selling author and the Millennials expert, which is why he's in the news a lot. Jason leads original research for companies around the world. His passion is sharing what he discovers in an unforgettable way. The following video features Jason delivering customized presentations at several different events. He received a standing ovation at each one.
How many of you have had a conversation with someone of a different age and it was very, very, very important, and at the end of the conversation you knew when they walked away they had no idea what you just told them? Raise your hand. So what do you do when this happens? Oh, I know what a lot of you in here do. You take out that fancy pen right there, yes sir, and you write us a note. In cursive. We can't read cursive! So we send you a text. And you spend the next 2 weeks trying to get the little envelope off your phone. It's going to be a challenge, I can promise you that. And it's also going to be an unprecedented opportunity. Truly a once-in-a-generation opportunity, depending entirely how you choose to adapt. At our center, we're called the Center for Generational Kinetics. I mean, this is what we do. We study this stuff. We're passionate about it. And then we apply it to different industries. And because we work across industries, we get to see what works best and then bring it to new industries. Really cool stuff. So as you think about this, what we discovered is that my generation is actually breaking in two. It's called a dislocation. What it means is you got a big generation, 79.8 million in the US, most diverse generation in US history, more college degrees than any previous generation. And what you're ending up with are two groups. One group that really kind of has their act together. They went to school, maybe they didn't, they got a job, but they're taking responsibility for their actions. They're doing the best they can, they're making it work. And there's a lot of this group in this room. And then you've got a whole other segment of the generation that isn't creating what we call real-world traction. They're not creating those outcomes and owning them. And as the generation starts to split around the age of 30, you put yourself in one group or the other, and you can't identify with the other group. It doesn't make sense. So it starts to break apart. It has huge implications. When we talk about generations, they're not a box that all of you in here, including myself, will fit neatly inside based on your birth year. It doesn't work that way. You actually can end up turning people off. But what generations absolutely are is they're powerful clues, really powerful clues on where to start to better connect with and influence other people of different ages. It's true whether the people are older or whether they're younger. People always come up to me and they say, Jason, what do you guys call yourself? Are you Gen Y, Millennial, Net Gen, Digital Gen, Facebook Gen, Gen 2.0? What do you call yourself? Jason. You see, all of us in the generation, we don't think we're a part of the generation. Not a single one of us. We all think we're special and unique. We have a ribbon from 12th place to prove it. You framed it. That hurt a little bit, didn't it? Sorry about that. So as you think of the name, use whatever name you want. What we look for in terms of predictability, the likelihood of people behaving in a certain way, what we look for are two things: birth years and geography. Now, when we look at generations, you will see differences between urban and rural in the same country, and you're going to see differences as you travel around the world. We work a lot outside the US, and everywhere we go, we have to make sure we understand Gen Y, for example, in that particular country or region of the world. You can't just pick this up, drop it somewhere else, and think it's going to work exactly. It doesn't work like that. When we look at Gen Y, why should you care about us? Besides the fact that we are the fastest growing generation in your workforce, period. Period. Besides that, let's flip to the client side for a second. This year, we will spend over $1 trillion. That's just in the US, $1 trillion. Those are big numbers. What's important to me is in 2017, my generation outspends baby boomers. And at that moment, everything starts to shift. When we show up to work for you, we're excited, we're nervous, we have all that emotion going on. I want you to stop us at the door, and I want you to give us a little box. Everybody see the box? It's this big. We open this box up in front of you. In this box are our pre-printed business cards. Names spelled correctly. 10 of them, only 10. It could be temporary cards. 10 business cards. Gives you, as our new boss, complete permission to say, welcome to the team. You now represent us just as we now represent you. Who is the first person we're going to give our new business cards to? Our mom, yes! And many of us are going to give them to her right when she picks us up. And my generation, our parents are what generation? Come on, say it out loud. Baby boomers, right? Baby boomers. And baby boomers have a distinct parenting philosophy, which has absolutely come back to haunt them. Oh yeah. Where's all my boomers? Come on, raise your hand. This is like a boomer convention in here. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. There we go, there we go. All of you who just raised your hands, promise me you won't retire. Please, we need you so bad. You have all kinds of skills my generation doesn't have. My favorite, long division. Boomer, tell me one more time. Back when you were in school, if you got in trouble at school, oh, that was nothing. That was nothing compared to what the people who loved you were going to do in the privacy of their home. Remember this? We do not hit. Where does he learn this? Gen Y, we get in trouble at school. They call us to the office. We're texting our mom. Mom, bring the attorney. I'm going in. What's interesting is every other generation is starting to look more like us. So our daughter was born, right? She's born. Who was the first person to join Facebook? Come on. Grandma, yes! Grandma joins Facebook. She is all over Facebook, uploading photos all over Facebook. 2 weeks later, she finds her old high school sweetheart. Now they're all Facebook talking. Now she's on Facebook more than I am. And she'll call me up and she'll be like, did you see what your sister did this weekend? It's all over Facebook. I'm like, Mom, stop creeping on my sister. She is going to unfriend you. And my mom says, well, she already did, but we're friends of friends, so I can still see her photos. So as we look at the future, everything that works with Gen Y will start to ripple up to the other generations as well. What do you need to know about us? We have time for 2 key things. Number 1, most important thing to know about Gen Y. Write this down. Here's things you can leave here and do right away, all of which cost you virtually nothing. Number 1, best thing you can do in this industry to separate yourself from everybody, whether that's the online competition, people down the street, doesn't matter. Number 1 best thing you can do when it comes to affluent millennials is your new tagline is, what we discovered at our center is that today's 28-year-olds may be 3 to 5 years behind other generations in work and life experience. This has nothing to do with potential and everything to do with the path that my generation has taken to get to where they are. We're graduating college later, entering the workforce later, getting married later, having kids later. All of these things have shifted back and the experience that goes with them. And it changes, for example, in your world, it changes how you recruit us. changes what works from a motivation standpoint. It changes how often we're willing to work. What does work ethic look like to us? It's really about work style to us. All of these things shift because of this delayed adulthood. If you had one moment in time, one moment, to give us one sentence of advice that will help us for the rest of our career, what in one sentence would you tell my people when we show up to work for you? Now don't say it, hold it in for a second. Everybody got it? Before you share your advice with two people sitting next to you, I want you to notice the advice you're about to share almost always reflects your own generation. Best advice I've heard. I was in a room just like this. There were leaders just like yourself. They represented 3 million employees. I said, this is your moment. We need your wisdom. What will you tell my people? The oldest person in the room, 80 years old, stands up, points a finger at me, and says, pull up your pants. All of you in here have been taught a certain way of selling because you're good at it. And the way you've been taught to sell is linear. Here's the 7 steps that we're going to take to get you from where you are today to get to Bali. Blah, 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 right? All of you have been taught that way. The problem is my generation doesn't think that way. We are not linear thinkers. You start giving us steps, you lose us. You've seen this with your kids and your grandkids, right? People in your office, you start giving steps, they're gone. And the reason is, we as a generation are completely outcome driven. That's why we don't think in terms of steps. So here's all you do. You take the same 7 steps that you always do, that you know inside and out that make you great. And instead of starting at step 1, you start at step 7. And you work backwards one time so we can see from where we want to go all the way back to where we are today. If you do that, we will do every single step and stay with it. We are hugely compliant as long as you show us where we're going first. Every one of us in this room has a different relationship with technology that is largely driven by our age. And that relationship with technology is invisible until we bump into somebody who has a different relationship with technology. And I will prove that right now. Who in here remembers a computer that took punch cards? Raise your hand. Come on. I know you're here. There you go. Who has no idea what I'm talking about? Come on. Yes. Who in here has been working so long that you remember using a ditto machine or a mimeograph? Raise your hand. Oh, yeah. And what did you do with that? You cranked it, right? And then when that paper came off, what did you do? The purple paper. Look at all the young people. They're like, why is that dude sniffing the paper? Email doesn't smell. How would you finish this sentence? Generation Y is tech savvy. Thank you. Please don't write that down because it's wrong. The perception is that Gen Y is tech savvy, and that perception is based on the idea that we're constantly texting and tweeting and walking into walls, right? But what we discovered, which has huge implications for what you do and how you do it, especially in a highly regulated industry, Gen Y is not tech savvy. What we actually are, we are tech dependent. We have no idea how this phone works. No clue. We just know we cannot live without it. We actually make much stronger teams when we have different generations represented. That diversity adds tremendous value when we recognize it and integrate it. But we've got to recognize and integrate it rather than saying, well, you don't do it the way that I do and your way is wrong. And that's a natural response that we have to overcome. In the next 32 minutes, I will give you everything you need to know about my generation. I'm going to put us in context with your own, and I'm going to give you specific things that you can leave here and do in terms of recruiting, and communication, motivation on the one side, and then on the other side, what do you need to be teaching so that your advisors, your team, they know how to engage us as clients. We're going to go fast, so make sure you have the handout. If you do not have a pen, no problem. Turn to the baby boomer next to you and ask to borrow one of theirs. They brought two. It's funny because it's true. Thanks for watching my video. What you just saw were samples of me speaking to several different audiences, some really large, some very small. But every message I deliver is customized. And when I work with you, I'll customize my message to your audience, to your data, and to the research that we do at the Center for Generational Kinetics. I will make sure that every person in your audience leaves with specific actions and ready-to-use strategies that drive immediate results. I look forward to working with you.